If you've ever had to tap into your fuse box to power up an aftermarket accessory like a switch panel, and you've had a hard time figuring out which fuse to tap into, stick around. I'm going to show you an easy way to figure it out. I've made a few videos on installing switch panels on both the 4Runner and the Tacoma, and I've had a ton of people ask me in the comment section and through email which fuse that I tap into to power up the switch panel. Well, the fuse that I tapped into can be specific to my vehicle. This is a 2017 SR5 4Runner. However, I'm going to show you a way to figure out which fuse on your vehicle you need to use. When installing specific accessories like this Auxbeam switch panel, the instructions say that when you're providing power to it, you need to tap into a fuse that is ACC. What is ACC? It's an accessory fuse. When you have your key in the ignition, if it's a keyed car, and you turn the key one position to the right, that's called ACC, or accessory. When you turn it 2 positions, that's the on position, and when you turn it 3, that's actually starting the engine in the run position. We're going to focus on how to find the fuse in the fuse box that's either ACC or on. I'm going to try to find a fuse in this fuse box that's powered up when the key is in the ACC or accessory position. If I can't, my next step would be to find a fuse that works in the on position. Let me show you an easy way to do this. Also, stick around because at the end of this video, I'm going to share another important tip on how to wrap this whole job up and make it weatherproof. This is what we're going to be using today to figure out which fuse we're going to tap into with the add a fuse. This is called a test light. It's very inexpensive and it's very effective. Also, easy to use. So in order to use a test light, we want to connect this alligator clip to a solid ground. So right now I'm going to test it out. I'm going to connect it to the negative terminal on the battery. Now I'm going to test to make sure this light is working correctly. So I'm going to touch this to a constant on power source, like the positive terminal on the battery. Okay. Alligator clips to the ground, solid ground, power to the battery. I know my test light's working. Now that I have a good ground, I'm ready to start testing these fuses. The key is out of the car right now, so any of these fuses that have power to them means I'm not going to use it because it's a constant powered fuse. So I'm going to go and test all these fuses now. When this light turns on, that means these fuses are not going to be in play. I should not tap into them because my switch panel will be on constantly. So by process of elimination, I'm already eliminating all of these fuses that are powered when the key is off or out of the car. Okay, I have my first fuse. I have 4 fuses in a row right here that are not powered. And then I came across 2 more, 1 and 2, which do not have power. So these 4 fuses here and these 2 fuses here have no power. So those are the ones I'm going to focus on. Ideally, what I want to see is when I turn that key to the accessory position, I now have power to one of these 6 fuses. All the other fuses are powered on right now, so I'm going to eliminate those. I'm going to run into the 4Runner, I'm going to put the key in the accessory, and we'll retest those 6 fuses. Keys in the accessory. Now I'll retest the 6 fuses, and hopefully I'll have power to one of them. Okay, all 6 fuses do not have power in the accessory position, which means under this fuse box right here, I can't tap into an ACC fuse. So now I'm going to check to see if one of those 6 fuses power when the key is in the on position. I can still use that to power my switch panel with the key in the on position. It's not my first choice, but it'll still work just fine. So I'll go ahead and put the key in the on position. Okay, the key's in the on position. I'll retest those 6 fuses. We got 1. We got 2. So we have 2 fuses that actually worked when the key is in the on position, so I can tap into either one of those. By looking under the cover of the fuse box, it'll tell me which ones those are. It is the 10 amp INJ and the 7.5 amp EFI number 2. I'm going to tap into the 10 amp INJ. I strongly recommend not tapping into any fuse that controls the electronic control module, the ECM or the ECU, the SRS, or the airbags. You don't want to tap into something that could potentially cause an issue later on down the road. Also, you don't want to tap into a fuse that if the fuse blows, the vehicle will not operate. So ideally, something like a horn or a radio or things like that would be just fine. If the fuse on the horn goes and someone cuts you off, it's not a problem. You still have other ways of communicating. This is the fuse that we're going to pull out, and we're going to put the added fuse in. I'll put that here. This is the fuse tap that's included with the Auxbeam switch panel. And when I get power to here, it'll run through a 5-amp fuse and power up the switch panel. What we need to do is put the 10-amp fuse we removed into the lower position here so everything operates as normal. The problem I came across was the fuse that was removed does not fit into the slot, so I had to use a different style fuse here. Thank goodness I had one in stock in my garage. So I will take the 10-amp fuse, we'll plug it into the bottom here, and now we'll take these slots and we'll plug it in to the area we just removed the fuse from. Make sure the key is out of the ignition when you're doing this kind of work. The added fuse is now in, and one thing I wanted to show you that I did off camera is I had to put a little notch in the fuse box, and here's the little notch. So I'm going to run the wire through that notch so I can put this top back on. The one tip I wanted to share with you is by putting this top back on with a notch, I'm now potentially exposing this fuse box to water damage if I pressure wash the engine bay, or if a detailer does it, or if I run through a water pass. So we're going to waterproof this connection right now. This is called Butyl, and it's something that I use in auto body for many years to seal lights, windshields, and things like that. The package is very old. It's been with me for about 25 years. So the Butyl is simply this black gooey stuff, and I'm going to put it into that notch around the wire, and when I put the top back on, I'll have a good watertight seal. So I put the added fuse into the slot, the 10-amp INJ fuse that I removed. Ideally, I would have found a less important ACC fuse, and they are available, and I'll show you where they are, but they're just not located under the hood. This was the only one that I found under the hood that would work for me, and for my specific needs, this will work just fine. I already tested the Auxbeam switch panel on the inside. When the key's in the on position, everything works exactly as it should. So I'll just put the cover back on, make sure everything seals and closes correctly. Everything is all buttoned up here and works as it should, but I'm going to show you, if you're not comfortable tapping into that fuse, another way. Add a fuse wire that I put in here. You can simply run an extension wire on, and then you could run it through the firewall and through that grommet where I ran several other wires. And you could find a fuse box located in the cabin. With the Forerunner, it's located under the dashboard on the left side. In the cabin fuse box, you'll find several ACC fuses that you can tap into. As a matter of fact, I can almost bet there's a fuse called ACC. In order to find the fuse that you want to use, don't forget, just take your test light inside, follow the same procedure, and you'll find the fuse that you want to tap into. Hopefully this video was helpful to some of you. If so, I would love to have you as a subscriber on the channel. I do a lot of fun installs, as well as take you all along off-roading and our camping adventures with us. Also, I will leave descriptions to the test light and to the Butyl in the description below. I'll see you in the next one, guys.